Bio-enhanced revenge fantasies, robot overlords bent on enslaving the human race, and even thoughtful explorations of the human condition, the cyberpunk genre has it all. Check out our list of the 15 best cyberpunk movies. Economic disparity is a major theme in cyberpunk stories. As is the case in real life, those with the ability to help others are not always generous in sharing resources. Neil Blomkamp's 2013 science fiction action thriller Elysium looked at the lengths that disadvantaged characters must go to in order to keep themselves safe. In the 22nd century, Earth has become an overpopulated wasteland. The wealthy elite reside in a space station called Elysium, which contains advanced medical technology and scientific advancements. The poor are left to rot and suffer on their polluted home planet. On Earth, factory worker Max DaCosta, played by Matt Damon, is poisoned by a lethal chemical. The cure is only available on Elysium. Max and his best friend Julio, played by Narcos Mexico's Diego Luna, decide to break into the highly secure station. Elysium's defense secretary discovers Max's plot and dispatches a bounty hunter to pursue them. The Judge Dredd comic book character was developed in the comic strip 2000 AD as one of the first cyberpunk heroes. The futuristic judge, jury, and executioner was a complex anti-hero. Unfortunately, the 1995 film Judge Dredd, starring Sylvester Stallone, failed to capture the tone of the original source material. The Stallone film was campy and didn't reflect the more nuanced moral dilemmas that the comic character sometimes dealt with.
You may want to watch this seat after we get off the bike. Sorry.
Thankfully, the 2012 film Dredd was a proper adaptation. Carl Urban starred as a titular character who is one of the many judges working the streets of a dystopian world known as Cursed Earth. The chief judge tasked Dredd with training their new recruit, Cassandra Anderson, played by Olivia Thirlby. Cassandra is a psychic who can invade the minds of suspected criminals. Dredd and Cassandra are assigned to take down the drug warlord Mama, played by Lena Headey, who has gathered her criminals in a futuristic skyrise. They must fight their way to the top. Romantic relationships are often doomed in cyberpunk films. Is true love even possible when the future looks so bleak? Michael Winterbottom's highly underrated 2003 film, Code 46, imagined a cyberpunk society where relationships are predetermined by government-approved DNA pairings. Utilizing genetic manipulation, the totalitarian state designs ideal relationships. This means that it's now impossible and illegal to fall in love naturally. These rules are established in a series of codes, with the title Code 46 outlawing genetically similar people from having incestuous relationships. Tim Robbins plays William Geld, an insurance fraud investigator who secretly helps companies identify which of their employees are using false identities. Due to strict travel laws, some genetically inferior workers use fake IDs to travel between cities. William interviews the receptionist and falls in love with her, but their relationship is considered to be illegal. The cyberpunk genre isn't only popular with cinephiles, but with gamers too. Cyberpunk-style concepts have been used since the earliest video games were being developed. The 1982 film Tron imagined what would happen if someone was transported into the reality of a video game. The film stars Jeff Bridges as the former video game designer Kevin Flynn, who now operates his own private arcade. Flynn is a tech wizard, but his attempt to hack into a system's mainframe goes wrong when he encounters a mysterious master control program. Flynn is transported into the game he once helped design, where he must use his arcade skills to beat the system and escape back to his own reality. While the visual effects in Tron may seem dated now, the themes are still relevant. The 2010 sequel, Tron Legacy, successfully modernized the original concept, with a heartfelt storyline featuring Flynn and his son, Sam. In the unpredictable future of a cyberpunk film, true friendships are rare. The 2018 revenge thriller Upgrade centers on an unusual relationship that comes after a tragedy. Logan Marshall Green plays mechanic Gray Trace, a man with a deep distrust of technology. Although most of the world is overrun by robotic advancements, Gray prefers to build things with his own two hands. Gray and his wife are stranded in a car crash in a dangerous part of town, where a violent gang murders his wife and breaks Gray's back. Now a wheelchair-bound quadriplegic, Gray is forced to merge his paralyzed body with an artificial intelligence program called STEM. Gray hates that he now must rely on a robot, but discovers that STEM can transform his body into a lethal weapon.
STEM, you can take over.
Hi!
he goes on a mission to track down the criminal gang and avenge his wife's murder. After his involvement with the British comedy troupe Monty Python, Terry Gilliam brought the same satirical style to his films as a writer-director. Gilliam's work is both whimsical and bleak, and his 1985 cyberpunk story, Brazil, is his most imaginative achievement. The film is set within a totalitarian future overrun by industrialism and corporate synergy. Low-level government employee Sam Lowry dreams of rising from oppression and becoming a great hero. He also has mysterious visions of saving a beautiful woman. After he meets a truck driver that looks like the damsel he's dreamed of, she's accused of terrorism by the aggressive Central Services police force. Sam becomes unexpectedly involved with a resistance movement whose idiosyncratic rebel leader, played by Robert De Niro, appears in his apartment after he's pursued by Central Service guards. Although the premise suggests that it's a heartwarming family adventure, Steven Spielberg's 2001 cyberpunk film AI Artificial Intelligence is a devastating tragedy. It's a story inspired by two genius filmmakers. The concept was initially imagined by the late great Stanley Kubrick, who sadly passed away before he could complete his work on the film. Prior to his death, Kubrick handed the reins to Spielberg, who he imagined was the only director who could handle the advanced computer-generated imagery the story required. AI Artificial Intelligence is set within the 22nd century, where the worldwide population has been severely depleted. Androids that look human but lack emotion have been created. After their son falls into a coma, a couple adopts a young robot child named David, played by Haley Joel Osment. David seeks the love of a family, but struggles to find acceptance. The future is frightening, and terror of the unknown is a major theme in cyberpunk cinema. David Cronenberg epitomized these anxieties in his horrifying 1983 cyberpunk film, Videodrome. The film features Cronenberg's signature body horror and offers social commentary on the media's desensitization to violence. James Woods stars as Max Wren, the pretentious president of a television station that's being invaded by a strange signal. The signal, which is known as Videodrome, features disturbing recordings of torture and murder. Max grows increasingly obsessed with Videodrome and learns that the recordings are actually live streams. It turns out that Videodrome is a form of propaganda from a radical anti-authoritarian group, and they add new members through addictive graphic content. Steven Spielberg's filmography grew darker during the 21st century. His 2002 cyberpunk film Minority Report is a grim, oddly prophetic neo-noir that asks a challenging question: how much of the future is set in stone? In 2054, a special division of the police department called Pre-Crime utilizes psychics to stop criminals before they commit a murder. While this would seemingly end crime forever, some skeptics have questioned whether a person's innocence or guilt can be determined based on events that haven't occurred yet. The psychics predict that pre-crime commanding officer John Anderton, played by Tom Cruise, will murder a man named Leo Crow in 36 hours. Anderton is shocked, as he's never heard of the man and doesn't believe that he could ever kill someone in cold blood. The movie also features Colin Farrell as the officer tasked with capturing Anderton, who avoids capture while searching for the truth about Crow. Terry Gilliam's bizarre 1995 film 12 Monkeys is one of the best cyberpunk time travel movies of all time. Gilliam adapted the classic French sci-fi short film La Jetée into a full-length narrative. The story begins in 2035 after humanity has been ravaged by a deadly virus. The rare clues regarding the disease's origins indicate the involvement of a radical group known as the Army of the 12 Monkeys. The film features Bruce Willis as James Cole, a convicted criminal who's selected to be sent back in time to identify the origin of the virus. Unfortunately for Cole, time travel isn't an exact science, and he's sent back too early to 1990. Disoriented, disheveled, and rambling about the end of the world, Cole is arrested and committed to an asylum, where he meets Jeffrey Goins, the future leader of the 12 Monkeys. Goins is played by Brad Pitt in what is widely regarded as one of his best performances of all time. Cole's mind-bending journey through time to stop the virus will keep you guessing all the way to the end of the movie. John Carpenter's 1981 film Escape from New York is set in the future of 1997, when the United States has been overrun by criminal activity. As a desperate means of managing the growing prison population, the United States has turned New York City into a sprawling, maximum-security prison where criminals are dumped. After Air Force One is hijacked when it passes over Manhattan, the President of the United States is kidnapped and held for ransom. The military must find a way to extract him, and they turn to an unlikely hero. Notorious former Special Forces soldier Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell, is given a unique opportunity. Plissken has been imprisoned for robbery, but if he rescues the president, he will receive a full pardon. Plissken is no fan of the government or the president, but it's the only option he has to avoid jail time, so he ventures into the dangerous wasteland. Russell is a great lead for this mix of action, science fiction, and social satire. He has a defiant attitude that is reminiscent of classic Western gunslingers. There are few cyberpunk movie endings that provoke as much heated discussion as Total Recall. Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as Douglas Quaid, a lowly construction worker who dreams of visiting a colony on Mars. He's intrigued by the prospect of life on another planet and decides to experience it the only way he knows possible. Douglas goes to the virtual reality simulation program, Recall, to have a Martian adventure implanted in his mind.
I don't want to spoil it for you, Doug, but you rest assured, by the time the trip is over, you get the girl, kill the bad guys, and save the entire planet.
However, the appointment goes horribly wrong, and Douglas is pursued by secret agents. His wife Lori informs him that it's not the Martian adventure that's an illusion. He's actually a highly trained secret agent, and his average life on Earth is the illusion that Recall created. What is real? What is Recall? Douglas is forced to ask these questions throughout his adventure, and audiences are left to dissect the same mysteries for themselves. Just because a film is set within a dystopian future doesn't mean it can't be funny, exciting, and provocative all at once. Many of the best cyberpunk films also function as great entertainment but have deeper questions on their mind. Few filmmakers can combine pop entertainment with nuanced social commentary better than the genius Paul Verhoeven. There's no film that shows this better than Verhoeven's 1987 masterpiece, Robocop. It's not only one of the bloodiest action movies of the 1980s, but a clever commentary on corporate culture and neoliberal politics, a distinct product of the Reagan era. Set in a dystopian future where cities are overrun by crime, Robocop stars Peter Weller as Detroit police officer Alex Murphy, who's trying to clean up the streets, but the cops are simply overwhelmed by deadly criminal gangs that dominate the city. After tracking down the local crime lord, Murphy is shot down and brutally tortured. He dies from his wounds, but an ambitious young executive at the local megacorporation has an idea on how to bring him back to life as, well, you can probably guess from the title. Although cyberpunk stories are set within the future, their influences can be much older. With their cyberpunk classic The Matrix, the Wachowskis drew inspiration from Plato's allegory of the cave, the idea that mankind was not questioning the nature of their reality, but simply accepting the information that was fed to them without prying any further. The Wachowskis took this premise and translated it into a stark vision of a future overrun by a highly advanced artificial intelligence network called the Matrix. Hooking humans up to a vast computer network, the Matrix keeps them occupied by simulating their reality. Most humans haven't noticed it, but they're being used to feed an ever-growing technological villain. A few brave survivors have managed to wake themselves up. The Resistance leader Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne, commands a crew of rebels on the ship Nebuchadnezzar as they avoid the forces of the machines in the real world. Morpheus believes in a coming messiah called the One that will save the future. He comes to believe that this One is computer programmer Thomas Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves, who also goes by his hacker alias Neo. Morpheus introduces Neo to the truth and the fight for humanity's freedom. It makes sense that the cyberpunk genre frequently intersects with noir stories. The classic noir films of the 40s and 50s centered on lonely private eyes who solved mysteries within cold, grim cities, uncovering the worst of humanity. Ridley Scott's visionary science fiction classic, Blade Runner, took the noir genre into the not-so-distant future. Based on the short story Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by famed sci-fi author Philip K. Dick, Blade Runner explores the possibility that mankind could create sentient artificial intelligence. It's hardly the first sci-fi movie to introduce android characters, but the replicants of Blade Runner come to question their own existence.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Harrison Ford stars as Rick Deckard, the titular Blade Runner. Blade Runners are elite private investigators who hunt down androids called replicants, who have outlived their usefulness. The movie follows Deckard as he searches for a rogue group of escaped replicants led by the messianic Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer. Deckard travels with another replicant, Rachel, with whom he gradually falls in love. The irony is that Deckard only learns about empathy through interacting with replicants.